Thanks for that wonderful introduction. But today, I need to confess something else. I am also a thief. Don't worry, I'm not going to steal your purses. What I steal is something different. For now, just imagine. You are a young girl, 18, 19, maybe 20, like many of you here today. As you leave this TEDx conference, you start walking downtown on State Street, and suddenly a group of strangers, or maybe even guys you know, surround you, they grab you, and they throw you into the car. People on the street see your struggle, they hear you scream and sob, they watch you fight and wail, but no one comes to help. The car drives away to Dearborn, to Detroit, but wherever it's going, you have no idea. Your kidnappers tell you they are doing you a favor, giving you a right to marry a complete stranger. They hand you over to the groom's relatives. When you cry, they ask you, why are you whining so much when such a wonderful man is taking you as his wife? If you refuse, you are threatened, beaten, or worse. All your plans for tomorrow, for next week, your future dreams are gone. Within hours, a rushed religious ceremony legitimizes your kidnapping. You are raped, and everyone celebrates. They call rape a wedding. They call abduction a marriage. And even if you escape, your own family may reject you, saying, you brought them shame by being kidnapped and raped. Can you imagine that? But this is not a scene from some horror movie. That was a reality for thousands of girls in my country, Kyrgyzstan, for many decades. According to the United Nations, 1 in 5 girls in Kyrgyzstan was forced into marriage this way. 1 in 5. That is why I am here today, to share my story of resilience and stress how speaking out is the only way to fight for human rights. My advocacy began as a thief. Not one that steals purses, but one that steals dreams. I stole my first dream when I was 8, at the day of my uncle's wedding. As a little girl, I expected a beaming bride in a white wedding gown and celebration. But what I saw was a terrified girl whose eyes were swollen from crying, whose body was shaking. My uncle and his friends had kidnapped her after the regular school day. She was only 17. She begged everyone, please, let me go. I don't want to be married. I want to go to university and study philology. But no one listened. That word, philology, not philosophy, stayed with me. She wanted to study literature and build a life through words. I made a promise that day. If she couldn't live her dream, I would steal it and bring it to life. And I kept doing it. Every time when I met a kidnapped bride, I asked one question. What was your dream? Some wanted to be teachers, others wanted to be nurses, lawyers, journalists. Their dream became my roadmap, my way of imagining a life without being kidnapped. In my high school class of 20 girls, only 6 escaped bride kidnapping. I was one of them. Through determination, family support, and of course, some luck, I went to a top college in the capital and studied philology, fulfilling the first dream I ever stole. By 19, I became a professional journalist. And I traveled to every corner of Kyrgyzstan, villages, towns, cities, reporting on domestic violence, broken families, girls forced out of school, women attempting suicide, all issues that tied back to the same thing, our custom of bride kidnapping. So that became my main focus. I hosted hundreds of programs and spoke with thousands of women whose lives began that way. As a journalist, my first goal was to seek accountability from those who were supposed to protect us. I asked the police, lawmakers, social workers, who is responsible? Who is keeping count? Why is this happening to so many girls? I was met with silence. As I reported more on the problem, I received hundreds of desperate calls from mothers, girls, families, all begging for help. It pushed me to work harder. I built a safety net for some women, finding them shelter, connecting them with support, or even just listening to them, not as a journalist, but as a sister would listen. I kept reporting, writing, and investigating for many years. Then, one day, the violence I had been covering struck my own family. My phone rang, and it was my sister, begging and sobbing, "Please save her. They took her." My 18-year-old niece had been kidnapped. My hand shook as I dialed the Internal Affairs Minister's spokesman. Someone I worked with daily, someone I trusted. I asked him, actually I begged him to act, to send the police and to bring my niece home. All he did was laugh and joke, and he calmly said, "Congratulations, they will be a wedding." I was furious. A man who is responsible for country's public safety, someone I worked with on this issue for many years, treated my niece's kidnapping as a joke. But here's what he didn't know. I usually record all my phone conversations as a journalistic habit. So I threatened him. If the police don't act right now, I will post this recording online. 10 minutes later, police were sent to the kidnapper's house. And within hours, my niece was sitting safely at home. That was the moment I realized something painful. My reporting was staying on the surface. It was only describing the problem, but it wasn't solving it, not even in my own family. Since the age of 8, I have only been a witness to these horrendous acts. Now I had to become an advocate. So I improved my strategy. Rather than just reporting and raising awareness, I started to speaking out to my family members and friends. Remember my uncle's wife whose philology dream I stole? By that point, she has 4 sons already of marriageable age. So I asked her, "Your dream was stolen once. Will you stay silent and watch how your son is stealing another girl's dream?" She looked at me and said, "No." And here's what it began. I pushed myself hard to begin uncomfortable conversations with cousins, neighbors, with men whom I knew all my life, who saw nothing wrong with bride kidnapping, I stopped being polite. I stopped softening my language to avoid family tension. I said the hard truth. This is violence. This is rape. This is a crime. And if you participate, you are a criminal. I went to protest and organize some more. Many people started to follow me on social media. I used that space to share anti-kidnapping messages, survival stories, and to spark conversations on that problem which stem from bride kidnapping. I also wrote a book for teenage girls, first in my language, about bodies, boundaries, and right to say no. And slowly, a ripple began. First, my relatives stopped kidnapping brides. Then families in my village stopped kidnapping brides. Then my town, then my city. Word spread, other activists joined, and movement grew. I didn't do this alone. I stood alongside other brave journalists, activists, and lawyers who took case after case pro bono, even when judges dismissed their arguments. Hundreds of teachers began to tell their students, you had the right to say no. Some fathers broke with tradition and ordered their sons, stop kidnapping. Young men refused to participate in abduction, even when their friends called them weak or westernized. Together, we turned invisible suffering into undeniable truth. And finally, in 2019, the entire nation stood against and demanded one thing, that bride kidnapping be criminalized and abductors will be punished. And it was. That 17-year-old girl whom my uncle kidnapped never became a literature professor. But because we refused to stay silent, thousands of girls in Kyrgyzstan can now pursue their dreams, whatever they may be. Now, let me ask you one basic question. How many forms of violence do you think exist in the world? Raise your hands if you think hundreds. Oh, I can see some hands. Who thinks thousands? Yeah, pretty much a lot. The basic truth is, we all know it's countless. Violence takes many forms. Human trafficking, child marriage, abuse of power, corruption, rape, murder, and kidnapping. It happens everywhere. In Kyrgyzstan, in the United States, next door, sometimes even in our own homes. And too often, we stay silent. We tell ourselves, that's not my business. That is far away. It won't reach me. Or, what can one person do? For decades, for many decades, what people thought about bride kidnapping in my country, until we broke the silence. And here's what I learned. You don't have to be a journalist or a dream thief to become an advocate. You don't need credentials or fame to make a difference. You just have to refuse to look away when you see injustice, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's close to home, and even when it involves people we love. Because silence doesn't protect anyone. silence only protects the violence. So, I am asking you, what are you silent about? Thank you.